The Secrets of the Sevii Islands by Lyra made a website. Now, for those of you that don't know, we had in Generation 3, Fire Red Leaf Green specifically, we had a group of isles called the Sevii Isles. And part of what they were was to help bridge the gap between Gen 2 and Gen 3. In an official capacity, there was no official way to bring Pokemon from RBY, Red, Blue, Yellow, or GSE, Gold, Silver, Crystal, Gen 1 and Gen 2, up to Ruby and Sapphire Generation 3. That's actually part of the reason why we have Pokemon XD Gale Darkness, Pokemon Coliseum, was you could catch Pokemon that you could not catch in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and even Fire Leaf Green, and bring them up to the current system. So like Noctowl, Suncurrent, etc., right? And there were actually some cool functionalities that I remember with the Sevii Isles. So I'm very interested to see where this creator brings it. I actually was hoping when Let's Go launched, I was hoping we'd get the Sevii Isles, but we never did. So if you've been a Pokemon for a long time, you'll probably know exactly what the Sevii Isles are. If not, oh boy, you're in for a treat. This is old Pokemon.
Sponsored by Surfshark. The Pokemon region of Kanto, based on the actual region of Kanto in Japan, defined the Pokemon franchise ever since its first appearance in Red and Blue. It has subsequently been remade in Gold and Silver, then Fire Red and Leaf Green, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and one final time in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee.
There's a lot of Kanto.
But for
yes.
all its incarnations, there is one area of Kanto that only existed once, was exclusive to the third generation, and never remade.
Honestly, and I'm probably biased towards this, I think Gen 3 was the best iteration of Kanto. I think that it was the best iteration and had the most connectivity. Don't get me wrong, I have my 64 over there with Pokemon Stadium. I'm going to get my Pokemon Red to the point that I can start going back and forth, between stadiums, because registering sets and stadiums required connectivity. Anyways, moving on. I think Fire Red was probably the best iteration of just Kanto. Note that I'm saying just Kanto. So when we get Heart Gold, Soul Silver, where we have Kanto and Johto, I'm kind of excluding that. Hoenn best region, debatable. A lot of people didn't like Hoenn because they didn't understand what Hoenn was trying to do. And even IGN, the famous, too much water review from, what was it, Gen 6 Hoenn or as. But the fact that Hoenn was going for a more tropical environment, it was going towards, I would argue, a more equatorial environment, right? Once you were able to justify that, Pokemon like Tropius made a lot more sense. Space mechanic as well, yes, I agree with that.
The Sevii Islands. Why is that? Well, what is the goal of the Gen 3 remakes? Enjoy the original games, along with all the improvements from Ruby and Sapphire. But including every addition since Red and Blue would change the remakes into different games. The solution? Create an experience as faithful as possible to the source material,
yes,
and add an exclusive area specifically made to bridge the gap between Gen 1 and Gen 3. This area would act as a greatest hits of Pokemon, featuring content introduced in Gen 2 and 3.
Gen 3 was actually not Fire Leaf Green because they came out a little later, right? But Gen 3 was the inception of Pokemon non-standardized Pokemon sprites, right? Because in Gen 1, we had standardized sprites, like Scyther was the bug sprite, right? Just standard bug sprite, the same that you'd get for others, right? But then we get to Gen 2, and we still had we had more sprites, don't get me wrong. Like when you go to your menu, you go to your Pokemon, select Start Pokemon, and then you see the sprites. I think Gen 3 was the first time we got to see Kanto with Pokemon that had their own sprites, I think.
So how about we explore every nook and cranny of this unique area, understand the purpose of each edition, and learn about the secrets of the Sevii Islands. Before we travel though, we need to be prepared. Our dream team to fight opposing trainers, and Surfshark, this video sponsor,
it's so
to
good.
Protect our data.
I love it. That was a smooth ad read transition. That was chef's kiss.
In both cases, sharks are the way to go. What's the point of preventing Team Rocket from stealing Pokemon if we don't prevent them from stealing our personal data using a VPN?
This is great.
In real life, hackers are not so hilariously incompetent. And Surfshark makes sure you are safe on the internet by encrypting.
Stadium had the individual models next to them. It also didn't take place in Kanto. I actually need to track down a Stadium 2 copy. Thanks for reminding me.
Your personal data. especially useful when using public Wi-Fi. Also, if you know anything about Pokemon, you know how much content is only accessible in specific areas of the world. By using a VPN, you can virtually move anywhere. Surfshark has over 3,000 servers and more than 100 countries to choose from, so you will never miss out on region-locked content. If you have decided you need sharks in your life, and a VPN.
If you didn't know, because I feel there's people that aren't going to understand this. So this was the bonus disc, right? This was the bonus disc in Japan for Pokemon Coliseum, from my understanding. It was a Celebi bonus disc. Here in the States, which I actually need to unfortunately track down another copy, because in a state of depression, I got rid of my old Jirachi bonus disc that I bought. US copies of Coliseum could come with the Jirachi bonus disc, which you'd put in, and you could effectively mystery gift a once per save file Jirachi to Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire. It was a time. Like, there is so much proprietary Pokemon stuff that it's so good.
Unlocked content. If you have decided you need sharks in your life, and a VPN, you can use the code Lyra, or use the referral link in the video description, for an extra 3 months off your subscription. You'll get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so no reason not to give it a try. Thank you for using my referral code, and for Surfshark for sponsoring this video.
That's so good. That was a great ad read, actually. That was solid.
The Sevii Island questline starts in Cinnabar Island, right after defeating Blaine. Or not. Upon exiting the gym, we run into Bill, the man behind...
Yeah. Because Bill brings you there the first time. Bill actually got more story to him with this, which I'm super sad that we didn't get this in the Let's Go remake. I'm super sad we didn't, because I would have loved to see Sevii Isles 2.0.
The Pokemon storage system, who invites us to his friend's island. An offer we can refuse. To keep Fire Red and Leaf Green as close to the original games as possible, we can completely bypass the Sevii Islands by simply saying no.
Right.
We still have to meet back with Bill in Cinnabar's Pokemon Center to unlock the post-Elite Four content. But giving us the choice is a neat touch. Once we accept to join Bill, we are transported to the new area, where we meet his friend, Celio, currently working on a machine that would allow communication with other regions.
This was actually a super cool machine, and it'll get into it, I'm sure. You do have to put the Ruby and the Sapphire in here to get it to work. Get it? Ruby and Sapphire, to trade between Ruby and Sapphire, Fire and Leaf Green. Technically Emerald's in there too somewhere. But like, oh my god, it's so good. I know you can't see it on the React channel, but chat's going wild right now as we're debating what the best starter and best Plantmon is. I already said that if I had to choose a starter out of any of the starters that we have access to, probably Venusaur. I would go with Chlorophyll Venusaur all day. Used to be Charizard, but now it's Venusaur. What do you think? And type in the comments. What are your thoughts on what starter you would choose? Also, what is the best plant Pokemon? We've seen Meganium. We've seen Ferrothorn. Let me know in the comments.
The first Sevii Island we arrive at is called One Island.
Yes.
Be prepared for some very literal naming.
Brilliant naming convention here.
The Sevii name itself is a combination of the word 7 and its Roman numeral.
It really is kind of cool.
For the 7 main islands we can sail to. The only point of interest in this town is the Pokemon Network Center and its supercomputer.
Wasn't this the one with the Onyx, or is that the other one? There's an Onyx burial monolith that you get the metal coat from.
South of the dock is Treasure Beach. What makes this place special is the presence of infinite item spots, a feature specific to Fire Red and Leaf Green.
I actually didn't know that this had infinite item spawns. Depending on the drop table, this could actually be super meta for certain items.
Here's how it works. Certain areas have 3 groups of items tied to a probability to be chosen. Group A has 60% chance, Group B has 30% chance, and Group C has 10% chance to be selected. Each item has its own specific spot, but only spawns if its group is chosen. This is refreshed every 1500 steps, where the game...
Back in my day, you're about to hear that a lot because I've been in Pokemon for a hot minute. Back in my day, we didn't have a day-night cycle. Back in my day, we hatched eggs. We did everything by step count. wanted to yeah, keep it up. You wanted to rebattle some trainers? My golly, Sonny, you better put on your running shoes. You better walk a couple thousand steps. Charge that Versus Seeker right up. It feels like I'm joking, probably, right? But no, that's how it used to be. Everything was tied to steps. Hatching eggs, VS Seeker, charging that up, spawning items again, rather than having a day-night cycle, or depending on day switchover, right? Where, say you have the what is it? The Celadon. Is it Celadon? Yeah, Celadon Game Corner and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee that had spawns refresh daily. That's actually the bottle cap farming method. It's just tied to steps.
Game chooses a new group and spawns the corresponding items, replacing the previous ones even if they haven't been picked up. Groups B and C usually give out the best items.
Yeah.
This mechanic is mostly used in the Sevii Islands, but a few Kanto areas have infinite item spots, such as both underground paths, routes 20 and 21, and most importantly, Mount Moon, where we can obtain the useful tiny and big mushrooms.
Oh, I remember tiny big mushroom farming. You could also catch Paris and Parasect, and they have a chance to hold it, I think.
Which we'll get to later. In the case of Treasure Beach, we will always get 2 Ultra Balls and can find an assortment of sell items, such as pearls, stardust, and star pieces, who washed up on shore. To the east of one island is Kindle Road, a path going north where we encounter trainers.
This is where they moved Moltres and Fire Red Leaf Green Moltres. So here's the thing, and a lot of Gen 1ers are gonna look at me and be like, "Wait, what do you mean it's weird for Moltres to be in to not be in Victory Road?" I started with Fire Red Leaf Green and went back in time. I had no idea where Moltres was prior to Gen 3. And like Gen 1, it's in Victory Road. I'm just like, oh, you just get Moltres in Victory Road. I think moving it somewhere else was the good call, because that way you just don't have this legendary bird sitting in your way in Victory Road on your way to the Elite Four. I think because it makes it you have to go out of your way a little bit more. But it's one of those things that I'm just looking at it and I'm just like, yeah, I'm used to Moltres not being in Victory Road, but Gen 1ers are just going to look at me and be like, but Moltres was in Victory Road. What are you talking about? It's so funny.
Breakable Rocks and the Amber Spa. The hot springs at the spa heal our team, and an old man gives us the HM Rock Smash.
Smash!
This move did not exist in Gen 1, and is the reason why we only encounter breakable rocks in areas within or after the Sevii Islands.
Yeah?
Except for Rock Tunnel. At the end
F Rock Tunnel. All my homies hate Rock Tunnel.
of Kindle Road, we find Mount Amber, the new home of the legendary bird
There he
Moltres,
is. There's the rubber chicken himself.
was originally located in Victory Road.
It's so weird to see it.
Next up, 2 Island, where we are given the task to deliver a meteorite. Note that during our first visit to the Sevii Islands, we cannot return to Kanto until the side quest is finished.
Yeah, you're stuck between 1, 2, and 3 Isle, and you have to finish this quest chain before you can get back to Kanto and finish out the story. I think it's after the Elite Four. You do something, and then you have access to 4, 5, 6, 7. And then, technically, we had Birth Isle, Naval Rock, but those are locked behind mystery events. And at that point, that actually involves injecting your game with the correct mystery event item. It's a pain. I've had to do it approximately a single time. Because look, at the end of the day, if I got on disc, quote unquote, on cart DLC, I want my on cart DLC, damn it. I'm going to inject my legit, authentic fire red cart that I spent way too much money on to get my mystery gift. And that actually leads into an argument that I'm not going to get into about game preservation and what do you mean that I cheated? I have authentic hardware. What are you talking about? I have an authentic fire red cart. I'm just unlocking it. Besides, you don't see Pokemon out there I can't just go to a GameStop anymore. I can't go to a Pokemon Center, hook it up to a mystery gift event thing. Actually, that actually would be a really cool thing to do if Pokemon just ran like a mystery event booth. That'd be super cool, actually. The original one. Yes, it was. So it's weird to me when Moltres is me coming from Gen 3. It's weird to see it in Gen 1. Look, all I'm saying is I have the authentic Fire Red GBA cart. That's all I can say.
And no going back using
It's all on the
surf.
disc.
In fact, we cannot swim or fish around 2 islands, as the current is too strong. This is an interesting alternative to the way Pokemon usually restricts water movement, putting rocks everywhere. 2 Island features numerous points of interest, First, a market stall with an evolving stock, although very limited for now. Second, the move reminder. Unlike other core games, the NPC does not ask for the usual heart scale, as those were added in Gen 3 along with Love Disc. Instead, we need either 2 tiny mushrooms or 1 big mushroom.
Yes. See, this is the mushrooms. Yeah, that's why I remember the mushrooms and having to grind them.
Held by the Gen 1 Pokemon Paras and Parasect.
It's so dark.
Or found in the newly introduced infinite item spawns in Mount Moon. Next, the joyful game corner, where we need to deliver the meteorite.
So, in regards to the legendary birds between Gen 1 and 3, Moltres should have been the only one that moved. Articuno should still be in the Seafoam Isles between Fuchsia City and Cinnabar Island, you know, the waterway there. It should still be in Seafoam Isle. And Zapdos should still be in the power plant. Moltres is the only one that should have moved between Victory Road to where it now rests at Mount Ember.
But the owner won't hear anything until his lost daughter is back.
Actually, wait a second. We didn't have the Sevii Isles in Let's Go. Where did it spawn? Did it spawn back in Victory Road? Where the fuck did it spawn? I know for a fact that I had to go catch it. I can't remember. I think it wasn't in Victory Road again, was it? I think it might have been in Victory Road. I think it might have returned to Victory Road and Let's Go, actually.
Her name, Lostel. Remember, names are literal here. Finally, north of 2 Island, in the picturesque Cape Brink, we can teach our starter a new Gen 3 move if it is fully evolved and has maximum friendship. Frenzy Plant for Venusaur, Blast Burn for Charizard, and Hydro Cannon for Blastoise.
I think you're right. I think it was on Cinnabar. That sounds about right. Yeah, no, this is where you got your OP moves. And fun fact, if you overwrite that move, you can't get it back. Not that I did that. Definitely not.
Next is 3 Island. Right outside the dock, we find a tiny cave with a man prospecting for gold. In the town proper are a gang of bikers looking for trouble.
I think so. That tunnel actually gets elongated later, and I think there's Dunsparce in that tunnel specifically. I love this. Are these the people that make bike noises, but they're actually just riding bike? Like they make motorcycle noises, like vroom vroom, but they're actually just riding bikes.
Nothing a young kid can't handle.
Okay, they did put it back in Victory
Road.
Okay, thank you.
We cross Bond Bridge to get to Berry Forest. This place is full of easily noticeable infinite berries spots, replacing berry trees. This is because Fire Red and Leaf Green don't keep track of time.
No.
Making trees impossible to implement.
So I went back and played Radical Red, right? Which, once again, to be fair, while I am running Radical Red on an emulator, I do own an official Fire Red cart. I do. Like, I have to go find it, but I own it. It's around here somewhere. So I was playing Radical Red, and it was so fascinating and just so relaxing to see that it took into account time, right? So when you're taking into account time in Fire Red Leaf Green, because it's all sunny, right? Someone mentioned earlier, back in my day, we had to start our journey and beat the Elite Four in a single day, which is the running joke, because time doesn't move in this game. But to see a night palette, like a night swap of Pallet Town, right? Or going into Pewter City and seeing the nighttime tile set, the lighting, oh, it was just next level. And like to see lights coming from the windows, it was perfect. It was so perfect, and I loved it.
And is why infinite spots refresh every 1500 steps, as other Pokemon games usually rely on daily events instead. At the end of the Berry Forest, we find Lostel, who gets attacked by a Hypno. This creepy encounter...
This gets worse as Hypno's Pokedex entries get weirder as generations go on.
...is consistent with Hypno's Fire Red Pokedex entry, which mentions an incident in which it took away a child it hypnotized.
Yeah.
Once the lost girl is brought...
Hypno is sus.
...back to her father and the meteorite delivered, 2 Islands' stall is updated with better stock, and the joyful game corner opens, allowing...
I actually played these a couple of times. People often don't remember these mini games on the Sevii Isles, because you did have to either have a link cable, or you had to have... I'm having to look at my GameCube right now, because I have the Game Boy player in it right now. It's the So I can't show it on stream right now, but I have this GameCube, and it has the Game Boy player underneath it, and it has the wireless adapter. You know what I'm talking about, the one with the little two nubs that you have to take it in and out, right? It's the wireless GBA adapter. I have that plugged into the Game Boy player, plugged into the GameCube. I've spent a little too much time with proprietary hardware, especially when it comes to Nintendo and Pokemon. Let's put it that way.
Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald players to enjoy 2 wireless minigames. Pokemon Jump, and Dodrio Berry Picking. We can then go back to the Pokemon Network Center on one island, and finish our first Sevii Islands visit.
You know, sometimes I think about when I'm going to be streaming like Pokemon Fire Red or like Radical Red or something like that next. And then I remember that I'm probably going to have redeems on, and chat's going to make it just the most chaotic experience ever. That's all I'm going to say.
Back to Cinnabar Island, where we can continue our Kanto journey. We are free to come back to the islands at any time from the Vermilion City Harbor, but nothing more will happen until we unlock the post-Elite Four content.
Yes.
And that's where things get dicey. One aspect I have not mentioned is how different the Sevii Islands questline feels from the rest of the game.
I would argue the Sevii Islands feels a lot more self-contained.
Original Pokemon games are extremely open. We are free to explore the world however we want, even if it means beating gyms out of order.
Didn't somebody do the math? And there's like 59 ways that you can do, so the first 2 gyms are required. You have to do Pewter City, you have to do Brock, you have to do Cerulean City, you have to do Misty, but after that you don't have to do Lieutenant Surge. You can do Erica. You actually miss Erica a lot of the time for some reason. Like, I always somehow skip over her gym. I don't know what it is, but like I somehow seem to skip over it. You can do the rest of the gyms in any order. I think you have to do Giovanni last. I think. But anyway, somebody did the math on it, and there's like 59 different ways or something in there. That's an approximation. I can't remember the exact number. You have to do... There's 59 different ways that you could do Gym 3 through like Gym 7. It's insane to consider.
Or missing important items, like the XP share or the HM Flash. But as soon as we enter the Sevii Islands, we have to follow the rigid path set for us, which includes several cutscenes, and cannot leave until finished. And this jarring difference in design from Gen 1 to 3 becomes clearer upon defeating the Elite Four. Becoming the Kanto champion ordinarily opens Cerulean Cave, but in Fire Red and Leaf Green, we only gain access to it after completing both Sevii Island visits, which requires...
Oh, that's kind of cool, actually. I actually didn't know that. Yeah, so the event flag in the original, Cerulean Cave, was your unlock for defeating the Elite Four. You are now a trainer that is strong enough to contend with the strong Pokemon within, and up to Mewtwo. Versus, you know, defeating the Elite Four unlocks the National Dex and the second Sevii Islands visit, so you get Islands 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then finishing that one unlocks Cerulean Cave.
Requires obtaining the National Pokedex, meaning we have to own 60 Pokemon. Taking into account version exclusives, choices, and evolutions, it is close to half the Pokemon available. And our task is made harder by the fact that the place designed to help us catch up with Pokedex completion, Cerulean Cave, is inaccessible. It gets somehow worse, as the game never tells us the National Dex being necessary.
Nah.
The only hint we get is that we need to have made a great achievement.
Yeah, that was left ambiguous. Which, from the era, from the era of forums and stuff, like, this was perfect. Nowadays, I think people would just get upset.
Whatever that means. It is very strange how the Gen 1 games had a completely optional incentive to catch Pokemon with the Professor Oak rewards, which Gen 3 expanded and rendered mandatory and harder to achieve. Once we go back to Professor Oak's lab with 60 Pokemon owned, both ours and Blue's Pokedex get upgraded.
So fun fact, you can technically try to evolve your Golbat into a Crobat without the National Dex, but because you are missing the National Dex, it will fail to evolve every single time. That is a really interesting interaction that comes about because, for all intents and purposes, you do have access to evolve it. You just don't have it. Someone in chat asked me what my all-time favorite Pokemon is, and I had to answer them Whimsicott without a shadow of doubt. Second is Fluttermane, though. Fluttermane from Scarlet and Violet. Oh god, it's so good. It's such a spooky little ghost, and I love it.
Our rival then decides to go to one island. We do the same and meet up with Celio once more, helping him improve his network to allow trading between regions. The first step is to go back to Mount Amber and beat up the 2 Rocket Goons guarding an additional cave.
I did like the fact that they had extra Team Rocket stores. So that actually brings up to the event, what we were talking about earlier with the on-disc, quote, on-cart DLC from the mystery gifts, and how in modernity they're impossible to obtain without injecting the events into the cart, right? So I want to cite that there's a very important Team Rocket interaction with Silver, specifically Heart Gold Soul Silver, where there's actual story relevance to it. You see Giovanni again, but because of the medium of being a mystery gift, someone buying a used copy of the game in 2023 won't necessarily have access to it. Because you're, one, you have an official cart, 2, because of the price of the secondary market on carts, 3, you do have a legitimate means to play the game. I personally really don't see an issue with injecting the mystery gift because it's technically on disc / on cart anyways. But obviously for legal stance, I can't necessarily condone this. I legally, Nintendo, cannot say to do this. What I can say is if you want to avoid this problem altogether and the current genning issues in Pokemon, make it easier and approachable for everybody. Lower that barrier for entry. But that's my TED Talk on the subject.
Inside it, we find inscriptions in Brai. If you ignore what Brai is, Game Freak has...
Is it actually pronounced Brai, or is it... I always heard it was Braille. Is it Brai? I'm learning things today.
Added in every Gen 3 game's instruction manual a small text explaining it, as well as a translation of the basic alphabet. In fact, this alphabet is...
Oh, how many of you have seen the stupid Registeel meme? It's the Reggie's meme. Oh, he said, okay, it's Braille. Okay. I thought I was just like, wait, have I been saying it wrong all these years? To be fair, I can see it looks like a very French word. How many of you seen the Reggie meme where it's modern Pokemon events? No, sorry, it was the Gen 4 Pokemon event, and it was just like, players will find it too complicated to use this flute in this very specific and obvious spot. Gen 3, lol, Lamau, go read Braille. Gen 3 was just built different, you have to understand.
Repeated in-game first, before a second longer inscription in the floor below. This writing system was also used in Ruby and Sapphire to find the legendary
Yes,
Titans.
it was.
So it is fitting we find it once more next to the Ruby key item. We bring it to Celio, who needs the Sapphire to finish his work. To help us locate it, we are given the Rainbow Pass, allowing us to explore the rest of the islands. We can stop by 2 islands to notice the stole stock now includes Moo Moo Milk, an item introduced in Gen 2 with milk.
That's kind of weird to think about, though, right? I mean, we drink milk as humans, right? But suddenly, when it's just this anthropomorphic cow, I don't know. Are we crossing a line here? I don't know. I feel like this has been an internet debate for the past 20 or so years. And I've probably summarized what several threads have already discussed. I don't know. There's something about it when you just start thinking about it. It's like, wait a minute. I don't know about this.
Tank, which explains why it required the national dex. And on 3 islands, the cave is fully dug out, giving us access to a small patch of grass exclusively containing Dunsparce.
So wait. So hold up. Because we do have alternative means of milk IRL, right? Like almond milk. So if we had an almond plant Pokemon, could we theoretically milk the almond plant Pokemon? So if Moo Moo Milk, if Miltank are the only source of milk in Pokemon, what about alternative milks? What about soy, for example? Like, what about if we had a soybean, right? You get what I'm laying down here? And now that everybody's uncomfortable, insert your Fallout, everybody disliked that meme. Let's move on.
The only other place to obtain this Pokemon in Gen 3 being Pokemon Colosseum. We use the Rainbow Pass to sail to 4 islands, and with the National Pokédex unlocked, the game can open the floodgates with Gen 2 and 3...
You're right, Miguel. If you milk a Smoliv, do you get olive oil? These are the questions that keep me up at 4 a.m. I want you to know that, chat.
Features and items. First, several themes used are remakes of music from Gold and Silver, in the style of the Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah. These there were sound files that weren't brought over, or like they were, but people just scratched their heads and like, wait, but we can't access them.
We also find the Pokemon Daycare, which, contrary to the Gen 1 version on Route 5, allows for 2 Pokemon at once, unlocking breeding in Fire Red and Leaf Green. Next, we have the house of the Elite Four member, Lorelei, and she is quite the Pokemon doll aficionado.
So her house, every so often, every X amount of Elite Four wins, from my understanding, she gets more dolls in this house. I didn't know this. So I had like 200 Elite Four wins, and I'm 90% sure I had all the dolls in here. I just never noticed it.
25 times we enter the Hall of Fame, a new doll is added to her collection, starting with 6 and ending with 14 after 200 entries. To keep track of our victories, we can go to the Braggart's house, who gives us trainer card stickers.
Sticker!
The color of the sticker is dependent on our progress in one of 3 categories: number of Hall of Fames entered, Pokemon eggs hatched, and Link multi-battles won. Finally, to the northeast is Icefall Cave, a small area containing the Gen 2 held item Never Melt Ice, and the HM Waterfall, which only existed as a combat move in Gen 1. The only required use of this HM in all of Fire Red and Leaf Green is in this very cave.
Keep in mind, and this is important to note about going back to vanilla Fire Red and Leaf Green, there are games like Radical Red and stuff that did fix the physical special split. Until Diamond and Pearl, Gen 4, the game after this, there was no physical special split. And so what I mean by that is you did have your physical types. You had your special types. So in we take it for granted nowadays. You have something like Galissapod, right? Or something like, what's another good example? Dracovish, right? From Sword and Shield, that had Vicious Rend, right? That is the physical special split. You do have physical water moves. Back in Fire Red Leaf Green, anything prior to Gen 4, it was types that were physical or special. So your water type was physical. Your water type was special. Your fire type was special. Your ground type was physical. So the physical special split when you go back in Pokemon is something to take note of, especially if you're planning to run like a Nuzlocke or another challenge run.
To access the Cove, where we find Lorelei beating up some rocket goons. This looks like fun. Let's join in. The Cove is also the only area in Gen 3 where we can encounter a wild Lapras, with a 1% encounter chance, which could be interesting if we weren't just given one in Silph during the story.
That's a holdover from Gen 1,
The trend of giving the player all the items and features missing in Gen 1 continues with 5 Island.
So you would assume that, chat. Yes, not a lot of people know about the physical special split, and that's why I like channels like False Swipe Gaming so much, and a lot of other Pokemon Fact channels that do bring it up. And it's important when you go back to older Pokemon. Like whenever I go through Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Coliseum again, I have to understand that I'm going through that with the physical special split in place. I have to just inherently know that when I'm going through this, the physical special split is something I have to consider. So yeah, I can look at Wailord, for instance, and like, oh, well, I want to teach my Wailord a physical move. Well, it gets water stab, but, it doesn't get a water physical move because all water moves are special. So that's your, Surf is going to be special. You get what I mean, though, right? The physical special split, I feel, is definitely not as widely known as I feel it should, but it's also technically that niche knowledge for people like me who, one, lived it, two, understand Pokemon on the level that I would argue your average person doesn't delve as deep into it as people in chat here, right? And it's just interesting to think about. I'm also a fan of game design, so that's why I like it.
To the east of the very small settlement we arrive at is the 5 Isle Meadow, where is located the Rocket Warehouse. We only have one of the 2 passwords required to enter, so we'll come back later.
I forget this was 5 Isle.
East is a small island full of bird trainers.
Is this the one with the Onyx? I think this is the one with the Onyx Monument.
And by going south from
Yep, there it is.
we arrive at Memorial Island. In front of the memorial itself is a mourning trainer, who explains the monument commemorates Tectonics the Onyx.
Absolute Chad name, Tectonics. Oh my god.
If we put a lemonade on the memorial, Tectonic's favorite drink, its trainer thanks us with TM42.
There should be a metal coat here.
I personally love this place. It is a fantastic example of environmental storytelling.
It very much is.
Should we read into TM42's move being facade? Or maybe its Japanese name, bravado? What about the metal coat we pick up southwest of the monument?
Environmental storytelling. I wonder why there was a metal coat near an onyx.
Is it a random item, a memento, or was it left there by the mourning trainer, who was originally planning on evolving his companion? This area is simple, yet touching.
This is why people still continue to go back to like Elden Ring and Dark Souls lore and other games where there's environmental storytelling, things that are not said, but things that are implied, right? Tolkien as well, right? We can imply so many things from Tolkien. Why people still, to this day, speculate on the origins of the Nazgul, right? This is good writing. This is good environmental storytelling. And throughout this video, right, I've said, 3 times about the Onyx Memorial? That's the thing I remember about this island.
Going back to Five Island, swimming north, we pass through the Water Labyrinth. Don't let the name of this place fool you. It is very small and quick to navigate to its center island, where an old man gives us a Togepi egg if our first Pokemon has high friendship. North again is Resort Gorgeous, which is an empty small house. Its owner is currently lost in the Lost Cave to the east. This cave acts similarly to the Lost Woods in The Legend of Zelda.
It does, yeah.
One wrong choice and we are sent back to the entrance. Thankfully, the number of rocks present in each room indicate the clock position of the correct path. 3, 6, 9, or 12.
Yep.
If we go the opposite direction in every other room, we can find various held items.
That's cool.
Notably, both newly introduced sea and lax incenses.
I mean, those are actually super important.
At the end of the cave, we meet the owner of Resort Gorgeous, the self-centered Selfie. She is
Selfie. Oh my god! I forgot about that.
Cartoonishly mean, and once brought back to Resort Gorgeous, asks to see one of the Pokemon in our Pokedex, changing her mind every 250 steps.
Every 250 steps.
If we show her the right Pokemon, she begrudgingly rewards us with either a luxury ball, a sell item, or a rare candy.
And that's how people can grind luxury balls and money. I like luxury balls are kind of cool.
We are greeted by blue.
Luxury balls are cool, but I kind of just prefer great balls. They're people that have been watching me for all know that I just have this weird like disposition towards the great balls and aesthetic.
Blue, who's had enough of the Sevii Islands. Well, we haven't. So let's see what this place has to offer. To the east, we have the branching water.
Is this going to be the E-Reader forest? The E-Reader? No, the E-Reader cave? I think this is the one with the E-Reader cave.
Path. The south path leads to Ruin Valley, along with the only sunstone in Fire Red and Leaf Green.
I think this is where you could catch Wobbuffet too. Gen 3 Shadow Tag was busted.
An item added in Gen 2 alongside Blossom and Sunflora. At the end of this spiraling path is the Dotted Hole, the second area to feature Bry. The text here tells us to use Cut to open the cave, and then which hole to jump into. At the very bottom, we have a message referencing the fact we can unlock trading with Hoenn if we reunite both Ruby and Sapphire key items, alongside said Sapphire. Unfortunately, the gemstone is immediately stolen.
He just iron. Did you see that? I hold up.
Fire.
Look at this Iron Man pose.
Unfortunately.
Dude's got powerful ankles. Oh my god.
The gemstone is immediately stolen by a rocket scientist, Gideon. We could go back to the rocket warehouse, as he gives us the second password, but we still have a few places to explore first. In the northern part of the water path lives a girl looking for the ultimate horn.
Oh,
she will measure any Heracross we show her,
What?
looking for the biggest one. and reward us with a nest ball every time we beat the current record.
Well,
Conveniently, the nearby pattern bush is full of Heracross. This forest has trainers and players alike wondering
you are correct, Kiwi. That is in fact an NHE in that house.
about its grass pattern. What do you see? I just see bad area design.
Is it bad that I looked right here and I thought I saw an Among Us? What has this stupid game done to me? Why is it I can look at something completely innocuous like this area right here and I can just see a reverse Among Us? I hate it so much.
We keep going through the scenic green path and swim north until we arrive at the
I see it in everything.
Altering Cave.
Yes, this is the one. Altering Cave. So, Altering Cave was actually planned for e-reader support. So you would be able to scan an e-reader card, right? And you could, say, encounter, hypothetical, I don't know if it's in the drop pool, like Smeargle or something like that, right? This actually had more to do that didn't make it to the final cut of the game than it did in the final cut of the game. It's so cool.
In this mysterious and unique area, we encounter Zubat. And just Zubat. 100% of the time.
My beloved.
The Altering Cave also exists on Route 103 in Emerald, and unlocks after defeating the Elite Four. It also features nothing but Zubat. What is going on here?
I'm curious what... So, Pokemon modders and Pokemon enthusiasts, they found ways to, like, say, bring... Well, it wasn't done in an official capacity because of citable tech reasons that they've said, Nintendo and Pokemon Company. Fans have been able to bring Pokemon up from Gen 2 to 3. I'm very curious what they've done with Altering Cave.
Well, the idea was to add Pokemon to the cave using the mystery gift system.
Oh, was it mystery gift? I'm pretty sure it was.
Both the message that would appear and the encounter table exist in Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald.
That was e-reader.
But are never used. Interestingly, all the Pokemon featured are from Gen 2.
Yeah.
That's the main problem.
Oh, so Smeargle was on there. But yeah, this was to help get Gen 2 Pokemon in Gen 3, especially because they weren't bringing Pokemon from RBY GSC up to Gen 3. Gen 3 was a hard start for a lot of people.
Pokemon events. If they are over or never released, it is content present in the game, but inaccessible. I made an entire video on the subject if you are curious for more. Funnily enough, the fact we cannot encounter any of the planned Pokemon makes the berry juice held by Wild Chuckle unobtainable in all of Gen 3.
Yeah, fair.
Literally unplayable.
Got him.
The final island we have access to, Seven Island, also features inaccessible content. This blocked off door leads...
Oh, the blocked off door. Chat, how many hours did you spend trying to get around this and looking up on forums and people being like, oh, well, you see, you just have to do this, or you have to specifically do this, or you'll be able to, if you enter this exact tile, you can use strength and you can move this. Yeah, I see that in chat way too many. Yeah. Oh, this was an e-reader event. I know this for a fact was e-reader. No. Yeah, it was e-reader. Yeah. I think he's going to say mystery, but this was e-reader because you had to get the card to be able to unlock it, and you could unlock certain trainers.
To unique trainer encounters unlocked using the mystery gift only in Japan.
Yep.
The trainer tower to the north is Fire Red and Leaf Green's version of the Battle Tower.
I miss Battle Tower. I really do. Like, sure, Sword and Shield had it, but I miss, like, older Battle Towers.
With a focus on
the Battle Frontier
speedy
too.
challenge completion. There are 4 modes of play, each rewarding with a different evolution held item.
Yeah.
South of Seven Islands...
I beat a couple ones of these. You know, I'd be very curious. I might go through Emerald and go through the Battle Frontier. I might do that. I'd be very curious to see how much pain I'd be inflicting on myself.
is the Savolt Canyon.
Battle Pike.
Other than being the only place to catch Gen 2's Larvitar in the GBA games, we pick up a King's Rock, do the Chansey dance with a Chansey next to the Chansey specific item Lucky Punch,
Chansey man,
and enter the Tanobi Key, a cave with a puzzle unlocking the true potential of the Tanobi ruins located south. That true potential is the power of unknown. The Tanobi ruins are
so if you go up from here, how there's that house with a person that'll heal your Pokemon, that entire gauntlet here of the Pokemon Rangers up here on the earth, on the rocks, right on the cliffside, down to the 2 trainers next to the house. That was what I did to grind to level 100. My first level 100s in Fire Red and Leaf Green, or Fire Red specifically. That was excellent for VS Seeker EXP.
Composed of 7 Tonobi chambers. Each one has a unique name, color, and, after completing the Tonobi key, set of unknown. The chamber names are a mix of its number and the plant. Munian, Leap2, Weepth, Dilford, Scuffib, Rexy, and Viapoa.
I think you're forgetting Weast there, Captain.
Viapois, something. Finally, Gen 3 introduces 2 new unknown forms.
The question mark?
Question mark,
yeah,
and the exclamation
yeah.
point. Now that our exploration is done, we can go back to the Rocket Warehouse, located on 5 Island, to get our Sapphire back. After a puzzle like the one in the Rocket hideout, we convince Team Rocket to leave the Sevii Islands. It is then revealed the goons we have encountered here are the ones responsible for the events happening in Pokemon Gold and Silver. We finally deliver the 2nd gemstone to Celio, and can now connect our Gen 1 remake to every other Gen 3 game, as all the features we should have access to are now accessible. The stall on 2 Island updates one final time, with the Hoenn Lava Cookie, the Repeat Bowl, and the Timer Ball. In fact, we can obtain almost every Gen 3 ball now, thanks to infinite item spots, Selfie, the Ultimate Horn Girl, and its netball equivalent with the Super Rod NPC on Route 12, who asks us to bring him Big Magikarp.
Big fish.
Only the Premier and Dive Balls remain exclusive to Ruby.
I forget that you can't get Premier Balls naturally in Fire and Leaf Green. That's actually cool.
Sapphire and Emerald. But there are still 2 secret Sevii Islands we have not explored yet. Naval Rock, located between 4 and 5 islands, accessible using the Mystic Ticket, and Birth Island, between 6 and 7 islands, using...
Neither can be accessible without the appropriate mystery gift items, which are no longer available in official channels for obvious reasons, because it's been, 15-ish years?
The Aurora Ticket.
Almost 20.
The tickets were only obtainable through mystery gift events, specific to Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald, and the islands don't show up on the map until we visit them, or not at all in the case of Emerald. Naval Rock is home to both Lugia and Ho-Oh, and we can pick up the Sacred Ash with the item finder after encountering the latter. Birth Island is where Deoxys makes its appearance.
I remember the puzzle.
Once we solve the mystery of its triangle.
You had to touch the triangle specific ways.
Rock. Both extra islands are really cool, and I wish they weren't event exclusives.
I do too.
But if you know where to look for, you can find ways to trigger these events even today.
I think there's in-game ways of doing it too. I'd have to look at the glitch menu, or what glitches we have access to. There's a way you can do that.
We are. All the Sevii Islands explored, and the questline completed. We finally unlock Cerulean Cave, where Mewtwo awaits us. Now we understand why these islands were absent from subsequent renditions of Kanto.
There just wasn't any reason to.
Hard Gold and Soul Silver introduced all the Gen 3 and 4 changes within the story. And Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee purposefully only included Gen 1 content.
Right.
It is a bummer the Sevii Islands were lost to time, as they feature some of the best parts of Gen 3.
They really do.
They also would have gained from being easier to access, as the National Pokédex requirement is rough, but are a fantastic reward for those who are determined. So next time you set foot in Kanto, make sure you explore the seas and don't miss the Sevii Islands. They are well worth the detour.
They really are. It really is lost to time, unfortunately, and that's a darn shame.
I hope you enjoyed this excursion at sea. Special thanks to every patron supporting the channel, especially Chris Lunders, The Only Venom, Lucas Maximilian Lur, Jonas C., Arcat's Store, and Kelzini. Additional extra thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Make sure to use the referral link for all your VPN needs. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you a wonderful day.
This was awesome. And chat saying awesome video. Lots of old stuff I didn't know. Absolutely. No, this was a very well done video. And as somebody that lived Gen 3, I lived Fire Red and Leaf Green. I lived XD Gale of Darkness. I lived Emerald. This was an amazing video. And it surprises me that Lyra Made a Website is only at 59,000 subscribers. This channel very easily could go 200-300 plus 500,000 plus easy, and I can't wait, especially if they're going to stick with this. This was very well edited. I liked a lot of the background music that they used. The background music, as with a lot of other videos, unfortunately it does kind of blare over the content. This was very well done. The audio levels were done very well. You know, from a friendly critique standpoint, I mean, maybe there could be a little more passion in voice, but that's really a like subjective critique, if that makes sense. Everything about this was awesome. The video length was perfect. You know, you could sit and watch this while you're doing something else, and this covered a topic that is very near and dear to me that I don't see a lot of other people talk about. I don't see a lot of other people talking about the Sevii Isles. I hardly see people that even seem to remember that they exist. And this was a very well done video. And yes, we do have larger creators in the Pokemon sphere. You know, we do have sorry, I just blanked. We have Wolf Glick, Aaron Cybertron, Zang, which cover on the you know, competitive side of things. You know, we have False Swipe Gaming. I love their content. We also have, what was it, Pokemon MD, so many other awesome creators. And so when I see a new creator like this was 4 months ago. When I see a creator that is continuing to put out new and innovative work, I love seeing this, and I want to support it in what ways I can. This is an excellent video. If you thought that this video was awesome in any way, shape, or form, I absolutely recommend that you go check out the original channel here. As always, it'll be linked in the description, the channel name, channel link, video title. As always, please definitely go show them support, especially if you did enjoy this content. And I can't wait to see what they do next. This was a lot of information, a lot of good information, and I really enjoyed myself. But let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.